Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the This Is Me podcast. I'm Karen.
And I'm Ellie, and joining us today is Marie Tyler. She's the head of marketing and strategic partnership at a game-changing AI company, director at IPSA, and chief dare officer of Girls Who Dare. She is a mum of two who built a six-figure career without a degree, and Marie is passionate about connection, courage, and lifting up others through every stage of life and leadership. So thank you very much, Marie, for joining us. And to kick us off, do you just want to tell us a bit about your story?
Yeah, sure. And first of all, thank you so much for having me. As I said to you before, this is my first ever podcast as an attendee. So yeah, nice to be
Yay.
on the other side. Okay, my story. I was funny as well, as I was saying to you before, I normally have my security industry story, but that's not about that. This is actually even better because it's just about being a woman. So thank you so
Yeah.
much. All right. So I grew up in a place called Basingstoke in North Hampshire. I have a brother who's older. I also have a half brother younger and a step brother even younger than that. I'm part of a blended family, as you would have guessed from that information. I actually currently though live in Northern Ireland, but I guess we'll get to that part in the
Oh,
story. But yeah, grew up in Basingstoke. I started my professional career at IBM on an apprenticeship. So Dad found an advert in the paper, and yeah, we went for it. And there were actually hundreds of people that applied for these positions, and I was lucky enough to secure one of those spots. So I started at IBM and always in male dominated industry from there on up. So worked at different companies, corporates along the way. So it went from IBM. I then moved to work in London for a period of time at a marketing agency. After that, I managed to secure a job at a company called Grosvenor, who run shopping centres, doing marketing and promotional sort of planning for them. And it was at that point that I actually then ended up pivoting into the security industry. I landed a job at a company called Norbain, who do distribution for multiple manufacturers in the electronic security industry. There is really where my career started to properly pick up, more responsibility, more budget management, that kind of thing. And then whilst sort of forming some really good relationships in the industry, I ended up again always drawn back to my marketing side of things and wanting to help multiples. And so although in distribution I was working with multiple manufacturers, what I really wanted to do was get back to being creative. And so I ended up moving into a marketing agency, and actually a few of those brands ended up becoming clients of mine at this marketing agency. And one of those clients was a company called Extralis, and they convinced me that a retainer just wasn't enough and that they needed me full time, and would I come and work for them. So going back to client side again, they made me a very lovely offer, and they were a great team, and I'm so glad that I did, because that is what really set me onto the finale, I suppose, that's got me to where I am now. So cut a very long story short, we were always going to be bought by a company at some point, and I was part of that Tiger team to help with that. That taught me a lot, and gave me a lot of strength, I think, and really believing in what I was able to do. I was very empowered in that role and part of something very big. It was a huge purchase by Honeywell. Honeywell took us on, and I worked for that company for 8 years. And during that time was when I picked up the diversity piece. It was when I was encouraged to, they had their own internal networks, women's networks. In fact, a network for every diversity that they could possibly help in their 200,000 strong employees. And I was lucky enough to get involved with those. I chaired their committees there for inclusion and diversity for our buildings automation, buildings business that I worked for there. And so panel discussions started to become a thing, speaking at certain things. So that was sort of another, I suppose, me thinking, I'm not just a number anymore. Like, people actually want to hear what I have to say. And I've got some experiences that I've had along the way that are helpful to other people. And I think
Yeah.
also because I joined so young, I mean, I was 15 years old when I started at IBM.
Oh,
So,
well.
being so young and always looking up to older people to help guide me and so on, I don't think I realised that I wasn't that young person anymore until I was way into my 30s and
Mhm.
realised, hang on a minute, I'm actually someone that can help other people. And I maybe was doing it already, but not realizing it, but formally becoming the mentor or becoming the coach and giving advice. And people are like, how did you do that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, I can tell you how I did. And I was just finding myself constantly in situations of people wanting to hear how I can help. And I love that. I love helping people. I love, even though there was a time, I'll be honest, I won't mention when it was, but there was a time when there was someone that said that I had a red mist about me, and that I was too emotional, was also another thing that I used to get quoted at. And what I would say is, at that time, looking back with my lens of, all the things I've gone through in reflection, I now know for sure that the people that I was working for and around at that time were resentful for my success, and they were either holding me back or pushing me down or being mean, basically. And so that was making me more aggressive. My approach to that at the time was clearly being quite angry, and I was being emotional. But now what I love about how I am now is that I celebrate my emotional intelligence, and I love that I'm emotional, and it's a more positive superpower now, being vulnerable and all those things that I'm sure we'll tuck into. But I went to Honeywell, and then at the end of last year I was approached by the investors of the company that I'd worked for previously for this new AI game-changing software that's going to be launching in the security industry, saying that we want you. I was not really qualified for the job that they wanted me for, and I said to them that I'm not, you're looking for this and that, and like, I've done this. I'm very good at the front. I'm good at the communicating. I'm good at getting things out there, making things look great, and getting people together, and overcoming decisions, and collaborating, and like making shiz. Not going to swear, just in case someone's happen.
No, that's fine. I swear.
So I was like, you want me to get super strategic, and I only have limited abilities in all of that. And literally, he said to me, I can buy that, but I can't buy what you have, is what he said. And I was just like, where do I sign? So it was a big deal for me, coming out of such a big, cozy corporate environment, to take a bit of a risk. Luckily, they were at least able to financially make it viable for me to move into the role. But at the same time as that, getting back to, not, I went too far down the security industry bit there, but at the same time as that transition, I was approached by Satya, who's the CEO of IPSA, and obviously you're familiar with IPSA because of Debs. And we met on a panel discussion for women in industry at the security event a year ago. And I was the host. She was on the panel. We'd never met before. And we were both like powerhouse, like over the, we were like, initially I thought she's going to hate me, like, because I'm, but actually afterwards she went, you're great. I need you in IPSA. We're going to make this happen. And I was like, happy days. Yeah, I'd love to. And then literally not too long after, eventually we made it happen. So now I'm a director on the International Professional Security Association, which essentially helps frontline. But there's a very keen eye in there around inclusion and diversity, and again, helping others. So I'm really drawn to that, and I'm really proud to help them with that. And then the other bit was the podcast piece that came up. So that's what I'm saying. It's lovely to be on a podcast. People kept saying, you should do a podcast. I was like, I don't know how to do that. So I just kind of went with it a little bit, and I only really did the first proper series at that security event this year, so a year on, in April, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it, and I'm definitely going to do more. And so pop-up podcast essentially is what I'm going to start doing. So that's kind of a thing, but more so because I'm supported by the last part of the story, which is Girls Who Dare. And so Girls Who Dare, the lady Victoria Louise, who I met through some mutual connections, she actually just had reached out on a chat to say, does anyone have any experience in fundraising? And she must have caught me on a day, because you know where these chats go mad and you're like, oh my God, I can't keep up with all the messages. But on this particular day, I happened to see that message, and I thought, well, I'm not a fundraising expert, but I am a bit of an expert when it comes to events and experiences, and also I just love helping people. So I was like, I'm not an expert, but yeah, I could give you some ideas and we can have a chat. So we got on a call, and about 2.5 hours after, later, we, told each other our whole life history and, became friends. It just developed over time that, yes, she needed something for one thing, but she basically literally had a dream about this idea to launch Girls Who Dare. And she told me there's these 2 other women and with me that she wants to make this happen. And would I be interested? And I initially thought she meant just to help her out with it. But what I gathered then was like, it was so heartwarming that she was like, would you be interested? And I'm like, of course I'd be interested in that. I would love to do that. So the 4 of us now are Chief Dare officers. I, like the titles that we came up with.
Yeah,
there.
it's awesome.
Girls Who Dare. We're still working things out. We've got loads of ideas. We're having our first on-site together, the 4 of us, because I've only actually met Victoria in person like once. Twice, International Women's Day, and then at the security event. And then the other 2 ladies, one of which is going to support me at my first pop-up podcast booking that I've got at an event that's happening next week. So I'm really excited to move forward with them and do more with them. I rambled so much then. Did I really go through
No,
that?
not at all.
No, we go forever. What? So you've got 2 kids, haven't you?
Yes, 2 kids. Sorry,
2 kids, and also, why are you in Northern Ireland?
Yes. So 2 kids. So I've got James is 8, Lucinda is 6. I moved over to Northern Ireland on the second lockdown. So my husband, Seamus, is from Northern
Starting to see
Ireland.
the connection.
Everyone's like, yes. So he worked in the police over in England, and he was always looking to potentially transfer at some point over here. And so when an opening came about, and because I can work from any location, we took that opportunity, and it was the second lockdown that we did it. And I'd just like to say to anybody that fancies it, you get a lot more for your money in Northern Ireland. I mean, we could never have afforded a house like this in England. And I just love that we're in the countryside. There's loads of space and the kids love
Whereabouts
it.
are you?
North of Belfast, and we're in the middle in the sticks. So it's quite easy for getting to the airports.
Giant's Causeway.
So we're about 40 minutes from Giant's Causeway. We're about 30 minutes from the Glens of Antrim waterfalls, which I always take people to when they come here. It's absolutely beautiful.
I think we need to have a board meeting or something over there.
Yeah,
don't you,
I've
El?
never been to Northern
Oh,
Ireland.
it's awesome.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's an awesome place, isn't it? It's like, my mum was Irish, but she was Southern Ireland. So we did like a big memory trip a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh, I could live here.
It's lovely. Everyone's very friendly, very friendly. But yeah, the only thing I would say about where I live is there's a lot of rabbits and mice about, and my cats. I'm pretty sure I just heard a mouse being executed. I'm not going to lie.
I did hear something, and I thought, I wonder what that is. And I thought, well, it doesn't really make a difference. And maybe
Built-in pest control.
Somebody's hoovering, because Kate's husband was hoovering yesterday, wasn't he? So you get all sorts.
Real life,
Yeah, exactly. So I first off thought that was fascinating, and probably have about 600 questions. I think I've whittled them down to 2. One of the things that stuck out to me was you said that you applied for that role at IBM at 15.
Yeah.
What was how did we get to?
I realised how big a deal that was at the time. I think I was just thinking, an easy way out. I won't have to go to college, because I just figured I'll be going to college, and so I thought, that'd be cool, and I can earn some money because it's a learn while you earn scheme. But what I did do, because my dad has very he's just extremely technologically minded, but he works at AWE, the Atomic Weapons Establishment, and has sort of like a top secret thing he does, but he's extremely like
You shouldn't say that and not say.
It's totally fine. Well, we'll talk offline. Well, he's done really cool stuff. Like, for instance, I can tell you, he helped design the landing mechanism for the Mars probe that was sent into space, and he designed
That's so cool.
Pilot planes and. Just like really cool. So he's a computer-aided designer. He does, he's an engineer for design.
Yeah. Awesome.
But he's so very. What I was saying though, he's very technically minded, and I remember sitting with him going, "Well, obviously, how do you prepare for that?" And he said, "They'll definitely ask you what you know about the company, so we need to prepare you for that." And I was like, "Right." And so obviously, then it's not like you go on, easily to find information. Like now, we could probably have ChatGPT work out a whole pitch for you,
Yeah.
So So basically what I did was I memorized, and I don't know how I did it because my memory is shocking now, especially after kids, but I memorized an entire page about IBM. And that was my thing. So I went to this interview to meet this lovely lady, Pauline, who was like our work mum, who looked after all of us. We were all young coming in doing it. And she went through the interview process, and then we got to the end of it. And then I remember her saying, right, do you have any questions? And I thought, she didn't even ask me what I know about flipping IBM. So I said, well, would you like to know what I know about IBM? And she said, okay. And I was like, and just reeled off all of this stuff. And it's funny, it wasn't until like, obviously you get to know them and you become, friends and stuff, like about a year in, that she said, by the way, Marie, just want you to know, you were the only person that did that. And just so you know, I was going to place you anyway. But I just now know that you're always about maybe over delivering a little, but that was great. And I was like,
yeah. 6 hours later.
For that. I was like, she didn't even ask me. So yeah. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Did you have another question, Elle? Sorry.
Can definitely.
I did. It was unrelated. So if you had any questions related to it, I can come back to my question in a minute. But if not, then.
No, I was like really intrigued because like I've got 2 daughters. They're 25 and 29. I know I don't look old enough, and like looking at how girls get into work now is really interesting, isn't it? It's a whole different ball game. So I was thinking about what like in your work, how do you see how young girls get into work now? Is there any things you've changed or anything you've noticed about what we should be doing to help young girls your age, as you were then, to get into the work? Because it is really different now, isn't it?
I'm definitely, I guess, biased because I went through it, but definitely a fan of apprenticeships. I think it really does. I mean, there was a bit of work experience at school, but even then, I can remember very vividly being placed in this office environment, obviously given just a few basic, do some photocopying, do whatever. And I'm pretty sure I ended up somehow managing to upset someone because someone told me something. And I remember just telling the other person and not realizing that what I had done right there is stirred up, not understanding office politics, not knowing that you can't, say or do. I was just like, oh, so-and-so said that thing. And then this whole like,
woo.
You're not really taught what to do. You're just put into an office environment to go,
It made me laugh because Ellie came and did work experience with me at the Royal Mail, didn't you? And I think I sent you off to do the printing.
Yeah.
So there's no harm in that, right? I think that's still useful.
Yeah.
It's just, and I'm sure it's probably better now. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I think what I liked about it was actually called the YTS scheme at IBM. What I liked about it is the way they broke it down into core skills. I honestly, genuinely, and I'm not just saying it for fun, I really do have, I think, an actual problem with my memory. There's a lot of things I don't remember, probably because of trauma, I don't know, but there are certain things that really stick in my mind. And I remember with that at the time, the personal effectiveness course was amazing. The presentation skills was another thing. Every course was relevant to what I actually needed in the workplace. Time management, all those core skills that wherever you work, that you need to know to be able to function in a workplace. It was really, really useful. So I also know, you'll probably learn about it soon as well. There's another initiative going on. Actually, maybe not because it's in the security industry, but there is an initiative going on that's going to be coming out soon. And I love what they're literally doing is addressing what you're talking about. We can't wait for the curriculum to change. There are things that need to happen now. And so they're already working on some really great ideas around just taking it to the schools. And actually, the Who Dares Gives team, they're working on stuff as well around resilience training and confidence building and, the other things that just help, not just in the workplace, but just as humans, because we're so disconnected now, because we're so connected here that we lose, never mind core business skills. I think we're all losing a lot of core human skills and inability to even have eye contact and really understand how to connect with each other. So I think there's a lot that can be done.
I was also interested, one of the things that we come across a lot with women is about how identity forms like a massive part of who you are at work and how labels really come into it. And I was really interested that you said that they said you had red mist. Who said that to you? Was it men, women? Who were the people that labelled you?
It was usually men. But I'm always very conscious of the fact that most of my biggest and best allies are also men. So I'm certainly, you know, I'm very much a big fan of all those great allies along the way. But I suppose I think what for me it really comes to is actually, for lots of things I would talk about, but actually it's just people in positions of power is actually what I would say. They just would have been men because I was just in a male dominated environment. So I think it would be unfair of me to say that it was men. I think it's just it was always people in positions of power that were putting me down.
Yeah, I think that's such an insight, because when you look at it, it is positions of power, because a lot of, you know, let's be honest on here, a lot of women aren't the greatest supporters of women either, are they? You know, they can be the worst as well.
Experiences with that too,
and I think that's sad, because I think lots of us have, do you know, like, and I think the more you talk to women, the more people, I think you mentioned it earlier, share their vulnerabilities. There's always a story there, and you think, God, I hope I wasn't that person. Like, you know, like, and I think we have to think about that going forward, about how women step into the space of supporting women, and have that choice. So if you think about coming back to the things you do now, like I love your, like, oh yeah, it's got my name on it. Like, I love it. I love that approach. Like, oh yeah, I can't do that, but I'm going to have a go. Where's your like belief in yourself or your passion come from? Because life with passion means you do really interesting things, doesn't it? And I just love that about what you've said. Oh, I saw that in a text and I thought, oh, I'll have a go. How have you got that?
I noticed that as well, because I thought, like, it's such a, like, has that sort of, oh, I'm just going to do it, has that always been there, or is it something that you've, like, learned how to do?
Haven't really properly nailed down where it's come from, but I would
That's a shame.
Well, I mean, there's a few things that come to mind, and I think we all go through an ongoing process. I don't know if we ever fully know all the answers, but some of the things that I would say is that, you know, maybe that feedback, that even if it's just visual, that you get from when you help someone and you do something, it is literally like a drug, because it's like, you know, kindness, it brings it back. Whatever you put out, you get back, don't you? And I think for so long, because I was led by people teaching me to be a little bit more reserved and pull back, because they were pushing me back and pulling me down, and I wasn't enjoying my life, obviously, because I was being angry and resentful. And, you know, I was also, you know, from a personal standpoint, I was really struggling to find a good man to be with as well. And so that was another thing personally. And I think just, it wasn't until I should think about it more, whether I did it on purpose or not, but until I was surrounded by the right people, that I started to become the best version of myself. I now feel like I'm actually able to be completely and utterly the person that I was supposed to be. And it's only happening because I'm spending that time with the right people, like literally conversations like this, being with people that are like-minded, that, you know, we're all allowed to be a bit selfish sometimes, by the way, but I think but with that ultimate goal, though, of like wanting to help each other. And so with the work thing, I am curious. I would definitely say that is a skill set that I'm proud to have, like yourself. I do want to know. Although I would say, I don't know if I should say, my mother-in-law, I love my mother-in-law.
We can cut it out if you want us to.
So a trait, it's not, I don't know if it's all Northern Irish mannies, but my mother-in-law, who is honestly the biggest heart of gold, love her to bits. She's been literally doing everything, she's been out, she's weeded my garden, she's done the washing out, she's done a set, like 2 loads of washing. I stupidly arranged to have a play date for my kids, and then I realised I can't even actually look after them. I basically got their dinner and then I had to disappear, so she was managing all of the chaos. Why was I getting to that? When you talk about, like we say about curiosity, and you were joking earlier about being nosy, you know, it's a very intense culture over here, and the family is extremely close, and everybody knows everybody's business. Her and my husband will have extremely intense conversations about what they think about so and so in the family, or someone they know that they shouldn't be doing, and I'll be in my office, which is only just, it's definitely a mouse being
That's definitely about.
A mouse. Oh God!
Brilliant.
There's a murder happening on your podcast.
The animal rights people right now might be like, maybe I should do. My mother-in-law is out there. She might even be chasing them. She did tell me when they brought a baby rabbit to the door the other day, a little baby rabbit, and we were too late, and it was still warm, and it was horrible. I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
Anyway, it's not supposed to be about death, sorry. But it's very intense. And she would be more like, more curious. And I remember thinking when I came over here, thinking, I would be a bit rubbish at asking questions. I kind of observed it about her and I thought, I'll listen. I've had so many people come to me and tell me it's very private information. And hopefully that's also because they know they can trust me and I would never, tell anyone. But they say that I'm easy to talk to and they open up and I used to still find that a bit of a shock to hear that. And then I've kind of learned to realise that, Marie, if someone tells you or people are telling you stuff, it must be true. A bit like when they go, oh, you're always nagging or you're always, if you hear it enough, you maybe need to have a little look in the mirror. Maybe there is something, either right or maybe wrong, whatever. And I listened to her one day asking all these questions. I thought, flipping heck. And then I suddenly thought, but hang on a minute. People call you and they go, how you doing? You're like, yeah, yeah. And I started to realise that I was answering all their questions and then not asking back. And it wasn't because I'm some self-indulgent whatever. It was like, I think I thought of it as being nosy. So it's a bit of a trigger word when you said earlier about nosy, because I thought, I don't want people to think that I'm being intrusive or I'm trying to find out for those types of reasons. And I don't really fully know why I feel that way.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, that's a really interesting thing to think about where that comes from, because that will be some sort of experience, won't it? Something
maybe also a little bit of it as well is, I don't know about you guys, but for me growing up, it was very much seen and not heard, kind of not as that. So marrying Seamus was very deliberate in the environment I've married into, is a completely different family setting to what I grew up in. I'm not saying I wasn't loved or anything like that, but it was just not quite the same. His is extremely intense. There's a lot of love. It's a very open book. Everyone's knows everyone's, whatever. For us, it was very much, at the end of the day, I was an accident. My mum was 17 when she fell pregnant with me. But my dad, stood by her. They got married. They stayed together. They went on to have my brother. But I think that put a lot of pressure on them being so young. She was obviously 17, 18 when I was born. My dad was only 21. Wow. And although he still managed to go on to, do what he's doing now, there's a lot of things that had to be turned down and things that couldn't happen. And I remember at the time, I say, I'm not saying I didn't feel loved, but definitely maybe a little bit of me felt a little bit like an inconvenience sometimes. And I'm not saying they did that on purpose, but I just think it was just such a, they're having to work. Like, I know a lot of people say their parents obviously have multiple jobs and you have to make ends meet and, figure stuff out. Because I certainly didn't, it was very, like people talk about, like, for an example, we said about this the other day at school, everyone had kickers, the shoes, kickers, right? And I was like, well,
Ellie might not, but I do.
I didn't. No, I didn't have them, but until eventually we managed to get a second-hand pair in a charity shop, but they were slim back, and so my feet got wet in the winter because we couldn't afford any that were closed in. So things. I'm not saying we're in full poverty or anything, but certainly growing up, it was they didn't have a lot. I'm kind of rambling off in different directions, and the whole point was
it's really interesting.
The nosy thing. I think I've just always been told, I wouldn't want to quote harsh words because I'm not, as I say, it's not that I wasn't loved, but I think it was just, you're the child, I'm the parent. Yeah. And then if you think, okay, so I left, this is going to work out like a counselling session. And then I've left school and then I've gone into a similar situation again where I'm going straight into, it's not like it's designed like probably in college and stuff. I'm assuming it's more of a, the majority are your age. Actually, there's only a few of you. And also your place as a single individual in a department. So I've gone from that parental sessions at home to then going into now starting my life as very young, 15, with all the adults around me. And your tutor, the lady, not tutor, but there was a name for her, I can't remember, but there was a name for it. You would see her once a week and you have your catch-ups and whatever, and someone was assigned to you in the department to at least be responsible for you, but ultimately you're a kid in an adult's world. And so I remember even then, even though I was well up for the interview, when it came to actually doing it and being in the job, I remember feeling very intimidated by all these grown-ups and thinking like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing here. And
what am I doing here? Yeah.
But luckily every now and again you had a good little ally or someone that made you feel like you could speak up or you could get involved, or they proactively say, Marie, would you like to come and help me with this thing? And so that helped a lot in the beginning. Pritam Pabla is an exact example of that, and I interviewed him on my podcast recently. He's now like some mega superstar at Google, and he agreed to come to this event. He wasn't even going to come to the security event, but I managed to convince him to come. We stayed connected through LinkedIn. We have to give a high five to LinkedIn, by the way. How amazing is LinkedIn? Love LinkedIn. It's connecting me to all these people, but with him we would never have stayed connected. I mean, you think I knew him at what, 15 to 17 years of age. I knew who he was, and then we would never have connected again if it hadn't been for LinkedIn. So I love that I was able to reconnect with him. I'm rambling and going back and forth and all over the place.
Doesn't
not
really
at
matter.
all.
I was going to ask you something. Like, it feels like you feel like you've got, like, one of our ethos in Women of Our Time is about having the freedom to breathe, and I just feel that's what you have. There's something about, you said earlier, about truly being you and having that freedom. So what does the next chapter look like for you then? Like, you know, what's your life going to be like? What do you want to be doing and being involved with?
Well,
Now you've got freedom.
I've got a job to keep, but
Yeah.
but I would say
Clearly your job.
yes, I know I do have a goal to. I do want to do a TED talk. Don't know why, I just kind of got it in my head that I want to do that. Still figuring out what I want to do it about. I've had a few different ideas, but I think I'll know when it comes. I'll be like,
Yeah, you'll know. Yeah.
So I do want to do that. The Girls Who Dare thing, I am just buzzing for. Like, we only put out 3 posts last week, and it's gone mad to the point where, can't go into too much, but there's been some very big conversations going on, and you'll see that all come to life soon. But we've had to pause posting because of what we're talking about at the moment in a really exciting way.
Awesome.
So
Marie, can I ask, what was it, you know, like the like with the Girls Who Dare, with the, it's gone out of my head, I'm really sorry, come on, Who Dares, it's gone, I'm really sorry. What was it that drew you to, like, what was it about those things that you went, yeah, this is a bit of me, this is up my alley?
I think because I had a little taste for it when I was at Honeywell, you know, working with women and doing, you know, different coaching and empowerments and so on, and realizing that I can actually make a difference and help people. I had that kind of in me, but I didn't really know what to do with it after I left Honeywell, because, like, other than IPSA, which is amazing, that serves, you know, within the security industry specifically. But what I loved about when she said about her dream and her vision of what she wants to do, like yourselves, it's not limited now. It can just, anyone and everyone that's a woman, that I can somehow, not just me help, by the way, but also the other way around, because I feel like a lot of these groups are fantastic at maybe helping to lift people up, but also there's a lot of people out there like us that also want to help lift people up. So, and that's what I loved about it when we chatted. It wasn't like yourselves, you've got your own USP about what you're doing. I loved that we had a little USP of what her vision was for it, and I just felt totally aligned with it. And the 4 of us, I'm not joking, I'm sure you're like, well, your family, so it's even closer, but we are literally, I have done more voice notes, by the way. I'll tell you a shortcut about that in a second. But the amount of voice notes, calls, I did a PowerPoint at 11 p.m. last night for a call to, you know, that we could do during our lunch break today, so that we could talk about a thing to do another, you know, and I want to do it. And all the visuals you see on there, I'm just doing them in Canva, like self-taught, whatever. And they're like, Marie, it's amazing. I'm like, is it? I mean, I'm just like playing with templates over and they're like, this is great. And we're all just like feeding off each other's energy. And it's funny because literally my mother-in-law said to me, she goes, are you not scared? Because obviously, you know, ultimately this is going to go like Megatron. Like, this is my retirement plan, 100%. Please don't fire me, my current boss, but just saying, this is, you know.
It's your retirement plan, along with doing a very good job in the
In
position you're in right now.
An amazing job.
Yeah. Portfolio jobs.
Yes, a portfolio job. But I just, I think, what was I saying? I can't even think what I'm saying now. Brain fog.
I think what I was getting from it was, you've got your passion and your purpose aligned, and that gives you the energy, and like, and you're not scared, you're excited.
Yeah, she said, are you not scared? Because I said, you know, we're going to be setting this thing up and doing this thing, and she was like, you're not scared? And I went, if you'd asked me that question only like single figure years ago, I would say yes, and especially if I was doing it on my own. And I think where I am way more elevated in my belief in this is because I've got 3 other awesome women that I'm doing it with, who we are totally on the same page. A friend of mine I've never even met 2 of them in person yet, and we are like, we could have been family. You would have thought, like, the way we're getting on. And 2, just because I'm missing that mojo bit that I had before, and now I realise this is not only where I can bring it back, but I can literally amplify it to no end. Like, I don't feel limited, don't feel held back, don't feel like someone's telling me what to do. I used to get a lot of times people go, you should set up your own thing and you should do, and I always thought, oh no, I don't. I like reporting to someone. I like to answer to someone. I like to be given goals and KPIs and, you know, and smashing them, and someone telling me, well done, Marie, that was really good. But actually it's only now through this Girls Who Dare thing that literally I've gone, oh, and I'm like, oh my God. Now when I've heard all these people go, oh, I don't want to work for someone, I want to do that. And I've listened to them and gone, fair play. Like, I couldn't do that. Yeah. And now I'm like, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. Yeah. I'm rambling again.
No, you're not rambling. You're not rambling at all. It's absolutely fascinating.
I think it's amazing, because I think women in the workplace, we all need energy now. You've got to, we call it our tribe. And like we say, your vibe attracts your tribe, and you'll find the people that are your tribe. But I think what women need now is energy, not like dementor sucking stuff out, you know, like all this stuff about, it's hard for women aren't paid. Every story about women is like, oh, they're unfair, it's not fair, it's going to get worse. And I think we have to create this energy, you know, like
narrative. Focus on the good stuff, and then it will become the norm. Someone said the other day on a panel discussion to the other lady that was on it with me, the question to her was, what do you think, you know, should happen in the future, or what would you like to see change? And she said, I thought it was a really good answer. Sian, her name is, who, by the way, started as an operator in a central monitoring station, is now the MD of it, and she's smashing it. And she's a lovely woman.
That's amazing.
She said, I'd like there to not be these panels anymore. And she said, what I mean by that is, I would like to just be on a panel because I'm an expert in what I do, and not because I'm a woman. And she said, don't get me wrong, there's still a way to go, and I think we need it right now. She said, but it would be great when we get to a point where it's just not needed anymore because it's normalised. So I was like, yeah, great answer.
I think I think like my daughter works in I won't say who she works for, but it's a male dominated like industry, and I'm really proud of her creating her own difference in the little ways she does. She's like, similar to that, she'll say, well, the day will come when, and you think, well, if we could like empower everybody to create their own little world, you know, so everybody dares. I love dares. I think it's great. It's a really lovely word, and we could do that for everybody. Then the world would change without us having to shout about it. It would just be different. And if we can capture that and tell those stories and change the narrative, I just think it's pretty awesome. And I think connecting with someone like you, like I just think, all right, I know what we've got to do now. We need to talk to you afterwards about this. And I think that helping people succeed is what I love about your story.
Thank you.
I really love it. Yeah.
It's nice to hear that as well. And I think the other thing I would say when listening to you say about, you know, being in the workplace, I think there's also this narrative that we need to change around confidence, because it's like people thinking, to be successful, you've got to be this hyper confident, you know, big personality or whatever. And that is absolutely not necessarily the case. I mean, yes, there's certain roles that, you know, you need to be loud, but I think in general, like your daughter's doing, you know, finding your USP or your superpower and, you know, riding that train, then it will fall into place 100%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I say we. To be honest, Karen has always said, like, as long as I can remember, that confidence is an output. There's no point in going, oh, you need to be more confident, because the confidence is the output of, like, wherever it is that you're feeling unsure of. Addressing that, acknowledging that, and doing something about that is, you're not going to wake up tomorrow morning and be confident unless, do you know what I mean? Like, confidence is the output.
I'm very glad you listen to me.
Like, it's family life, but it is also mind over matter. I had an experience after So obviously in my job, especially at Honeywell, I used to fly all over the world. And so flying obviously was, something that I was comfortable with. Only after I had my daughter, which by the way, that unfortunately wasn't a particularly nice experience either. My son, I had them both naturally, and my son, although was pretty, as always, very painful to go through, it was too late for any medication or whatever. So that was, that was pretty hardcore. Yeah. In fact, I actually, in my, you put your bag together for the hospital ready to go. And in there, I packed a thank you card ready so that whoever was, the person that actually helped me in the end, or the midwife, I was going to write them a thank you card. And because I F-bombed and blurted and screamed so much, I actually crossed out thank you and I put sorry. And then I wrote this little message in there about it because I remember them going, Marie, calm down. I was like, my vagina. There's the advert for this podcast. But anyway, so that was the first one. But yes, it was painful and thing, but it was fine. I mean, I was fine. But when I had Lucinda, I was very lucky that I managed to so it started well. We got a water birth, which I wanted to do. I wanted to do it with James as well, but again, it was just too late and stuff. So although I say too late, it was definitely still pushing for hours. But anyway, but with Lucinda, they let me get in the water bath. And it was, oh my God, for anyone who is planning on, or thinking about birthing, when you get into that birthing pool, I went from obviously being in extreme pain. And as I went down and that warm water hit my back, it was like, I literally got in and went, I was going, oh my God, oh my God. And then as I got in, I went, oh my God, I went, oh my God. And then I went, oh my God, because then I relaxed so much. She came, as soon as I was like, oh my God. She came out in the sack and everything was lovely. She put on my chest and all the things. And then she's taken to obviously get all, cleared up and everything. And then I get out of the pool and then I go onto the bed. And I remember joking with my husband because he was using the toilet and I was like, hello, like,
how dare you?
Yeah, in the toilet. But it was actually a good job he did delay, because while I was waiting for him and I was sitting on the bed, I started to suddenly get really lightheaded and I was like, whoa. And I knew from James that wasn't normal. So that something's not right. And obviously your whole body's in bits. So I wasn't really noticing what was going on. But they said, look, just lay back down a second. And well, what I didn't realize is that I was bleeding out because I didn't know I had a retained placenta, and neither did they at this point either. So without going into too much detail, maybe that's for another chat, but it was a lot of things that had to happen. I lost a lot of blood. It was awful. The whole thing was horrendous. But anyway, why was I telling you that story? There was a reason. Mind over matter. So after that, getting back to work, having to travel again, get on planes. And I don't know why, for whatever reason, I suddenly developed a very strange, it wasn't a fear of flying, but what it was when I was on the plane, I was overthinking the space underneath the plane to the ground. So it wasn't like, the plane.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
It wasn't even about a plane crashing, right? It was about the space under the plane. And I literally, at any point when I was on a long enough flight to actually start nodding off, I was going, because I felt like I was falling, or it was like a vertigo kind of weird sensation that I was going through. Anyway, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I've got to do all these flights, all this thing. I was getting to a point where I was trying these pressure point things and mind focusing. And what I realized quite quickly is what I'm doing here is I'm adding these coping mechanisms for something that I'm not actually just treating the root bloody cause. And I'm looking around thinking, Marie, like I'm trying to tune this in my head. Like there's a child over there having a bit of, a lull, or there's a person over there having a laugh and having a drink, and you're sitting here going, don't be by the window, keep up there. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm like turning myself into this weird coping doll. And so I read an article. I'll have to find who it was. She's really famous she does a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, a lot of speaking and motivational stuff. But anyway, she did this thing about your physical reaction that happens in your body when you're anxious is exactly the same as excitement. And if you can help to tell yourself in your mind, and in that instance, I kind of regurgitated what she did, and I thought, I'm going to use this because clearly that's what I was having, an anxiety attack. Like it was just ridiculous. So what I did was I forced myself, I didn't want to do it, forced myself, right, I am going to sit in the window seat. I am going to look out the window. When we take off, I am going to take a picture, and I am going to sit there and think about all the things I'm excited about when I get there. Same thing coming back, being excited to see my kids, that I've got them this little gift. Because, and I'm not gonna lie, it was really hard for quite a period of time. There was one time when the pilot had to actually literally peel me out of the seat and take me off, so I couldn't even stand up. It was getting way out of control, like ridiculous. And it's weird because I never had a fear of flying. I mean, I don't like turbulence like anybody, but that was it, you know. So just a very long story, but the point was, I suppose, and I still do it now. I still have to do it when I get on there. It's my process. I go in, I'm like, right, no, because it's better for me. And also just like, I'm enjoying that whole experience a lot more now. But it was 100% my mind was taking me. And I do think the reason I mentioned the childbirth is that I do genuinely think that there is a hormonal imbalance or change that happened after I had my daughter that somehow impacted that.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right.
We
do quite a lot of work on the not alternative well-being, but a lot of work on all the sort of body talk, Reiki, the quantum physics element of it, about how things disrupt you with, like, you know, not for now, but mine was I didn't go to the opticians for 6 years because it's too long to tell. It's your story, but I had a hypnotherapist. It was amazing, and hopefully she's going to be on the podcast because she got me to think.
Hypnotising us all.
Oh my God. Because I got to the point like, I thought, this is ridiculous. And I think one of the things I think is amazing about all of this is we've got the power to give other people access to that. Do you, like, by sharing your story, by sharing other people's stories, you can say to people that are at home, like probably terrified of that, no, somebody here can help you. And I think you mentioned it earlier, and I think it's a theme of the work. All of the work is about vulnerability isn't a weakness.
Oh, it's a superpower.
It is, as long as you can, and I think it's amazing to see how you've changed that from that horrible childbirth.
Yeah, and it wasn't like that. I mean, I was definitely not, you know, no, I was very different back then. And I do think that, coming from whether you call it broken family, blended family, whatever, but I do think a lot of that also helps a lot with being able to adjust to different situations. So I've always been quite good at, I can talk to anyone at any level. I'm not saying I don't get nervous, like anybody. There's, you know, still nervous, but I'm told that I'm quite good at sort of, you know, relating or articulating things in a certain way that just make people feel at ease. And as soon as I make them feel at ease, it makes me feel at ease. Being a 6 foot freaking bleach blonde, you know, can be quite
6 foot.
Yeah. Wow. So when I go in a room, then sometimes there can be some instant judgment there, and so I always like to very quickly hopefully help them to realize that, you know, I'm maybe not quite what you thought I was, and you know, let's chat. And I just love the amount of stories and people I've met going what they thought of me before to now we're like, you know, besties or whatever. Then
Anna, Ellie's sister's nearly just shy of 6 foot, isn't she?
Yeah, she's tall, but it's like, I mean, you know, like, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I'm 5'4", do you know what I mean? So I was like, well, she's this tall, skinny thing, and like, I'm like, excuse me, can I have some of that, please?
I'm shaped like a pyramid, and I'm very proud of it.
Shaped like a pyramid.
Just saying, I'm literally like that. Like, never mind a pear, I'm a pyramid, right? It's totally fine. I love it.
No, but I think like what's interesting is like, obviously, prior to this conversation, we had about 10 minutes talking to each other, didn't we? So it's really interesting because obviously this is sort of our first impression of you, and like I would never like,
you can't picture it. It's like me saying my hair was brown. You're like, no, I can't.
I just can't. I can't picture it. But I'm not sure what I was trying to make at what point I was trying to make by saying that. But what I was saying is, what a great first impression you've made. Yeah.
Well, and you know what? I'm really proud of the impression I'm making on you now.
Good.
But that's only because of that journey. And I know, especially as parents as well, Karen, you know, like when you say, oh, don't do that. And we have to go through these lessons.
Yeah.
To become the people that we are, as much as we try and wrap them in cotton wool and help them and stuff.
I think so.
You know, otherwise, how do we really, truly understand who we are?
No, I think you have to safely. We do a lot of work with mental toughness, and mental toughness is about how you deal with challenges and stresses and pressures. So a little bit more than resilience, which is coping. And we do a lot of work with a lot of the young managers, don't we, Elle? And we do a lot of work with them on how are they feeling. And it's scary. I'm not saying mental health, but the mental well-being of a lot of these people that have got a lot of responsibility. And I think if we can teach people to deal with challenges and stresses, because that's part of life, and it does make you grow, or it can make you sink. And I think that's what I think we have a responsibility to do, to provide that space that anybody that needs help or wants to do something amazing, they can go to somebody that is independent, that trusts them, that doesn't judge them. Cause really interestingly, when Deb said, "Oh, you need to speak to Marie, she'd be great," blah blah blah, I was like, "Oh, I'll have a little look." And I was like, the first thing wasn't about you. The first thing I thought was, "Oh my goodness, we're in the same space, and we have had so much walls up from other women's organisations." My first impression was, "Oh, I don't know whether I want to go there." You know, because we've had so much walls put up about it. And then I read your post, you put something on one of the posts we did, and I thought, oh my God, I love the vibe of this woman who's running it. And I think it's really interesting how together maybe we can break some barriers down about.
Have to do that. Leave the egos at the door.
Yeah.
Otherwise, do you know what? We're only acting like, and again, I am pro men, right? But the misogyny that used to go on and still unfortunately goes on in some areas, we are literally acting like that if we do that. Let's not be a bunch of bitches. Let's all, empower each other, lift each other. And I think it's amazing what you're doing. I'm excited for what I'm going to be doing. And why wouldn't we work together? This isn't a competition.
No.
This is 100% like...
There's space for everybody, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is.
When you said that comment though, sorry, it was when you said that comment though about people knowing there's somewhere they can go or someone they can talk to. I think another critical part of it, which is back to one of your original points around how can we help younger people, is it's not just that there are people there, but that those people feel like they can ask. So it's all well having the services or the people or the things there, but empowering them enough to think like it's okay to ask for help, because none of us got successful by ourselves. No. So always ask for help. In fact, if you're asking someone for help, you're probably giving them a huge compliment, because they will be like, "Oh,
thank you."
Yeah, that's certainly how I felt when people started asking me. I remember thinking, "What, me? You want to know what I think?" I'm like, "Okay, I'll share my things." I think that's when we lead by example like that, and they realise that no one got here by themselves. Not even men. No one.
I 100% agree. 100% agree with you. We have like the support hub, as you know, that's free, and the biggest challenge we've got is people not seeing that as a weakness to ask for help. Do you like it?
And again, superpower. Vulnerability is a superpower. Be your authentic self. Allow people to help shape, and even if it's not just shaping you, but helping you to shape yourself into whatever this amazing flower is going to be.
Whatever it looks like for you.
What's your ask me a question. What's yours? Yeah.
I know, but I was like, what you've done there is you flipped it on us, because we've got a question coming for you. What would be your flower?
Got many flowers that I would want to be.
All right, then you choose.
Oh, I am, because I'm always looking for symbolism. So I always thought, when I was going through my cancer experience, I always really loved the lotus flower, because it like grows in. I'm going to swear, it reflowers every day, but it grows in shit. Which I really, and I said cool. I love that. I really loved it. So you shouldn't have asked, because I've got so many flowers, Elle. And then and then I think you move, not for now, but it'd be really interesting to talk to you again about the chapters of your life. And now.
I'm sure we could all do that, couldn't we? We could do a bloody book probably on all the things.
Yeah. So I know what my flower is. So thank you very much for asking. Yay.
What's yours, Ellie?
I don't even, I'm not joking. I forgot, I couldn't think of it. I couldn't think of a flower. As soon as you said it, the only thing I could think of was a peace lily. And I think it's because, my mum had about 3 of them. I think maybe that, but I've got no reason for it. It's just because I can't think of another flower.
And you're all under pressure for that peace lily never to die, aren't you? I mean, no pressure, Ellie.
Don't let the peace lily die.
Marie?
I don't even know where that question came from because I've never actually asked that before. But so then I was thinking, shit, they're going to ask me what mine is. So I was trying to think
going to say, yeah, you're not getting out of it.
So I would say, I mean, I have like, favorite flowers just to look at. Like, I love a peonies. I like, especially when they come, they look sweet. And I always have an orchid in my house because, you can get them for like a £5 or a tenner from Tesco or whatever and put it in the kitchen. I love an orchid. Low maintenance like me. Believe it or not, I am actually low maintenance. But I was thinking then, actually, being a little bit deep, a dandelion.
Oh, I love a dandelion, yeah.
Because, like, especially at the minute, they're everywhere and the kids just love blowing them and seeing them. And I ended up taking a slow-mo video of my kid doing it the other day, and I was just like, what a magical little thing from what is technically a weed that can be a beautiful thing.
Well, I'm going to tell you a really spooky story. Back in the day when I was first a mum, me and my friend Nikki, who's coming on a podcast as well, we were going to write a book on So You Want to Be a Working Mom. You know, when you're all geared up when you first go back when you're a mom
totally
and like, nobody else has had this baby. We're the only people. We had, so spooky, our little business card was a dandelion with the leaves. And we called ourselves the Thresholds of Possibility. Great name. Thresholds of Possibility. Rolls off the tongue. But it was exactly that, which was like this little thing like goes out. So, yeah. So you want to be a working mom? I mean, we were enthusiastic at the time, and then rearing children got in the way.
Temporarily.
Oh,
Such a great learning experience, isn't it? And it's also a very big one, I think, as a partnership as well. Really test your relationship to the max, especially at those harder times with all the things that all parents know you go through. So
when I had my first one, Laura, I was working at Asda, and my boss promoted me, and it was at that time I was told I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. Whereas I thought it was a great story because I was part-time as well, which was like, but I was actually told not to tell anybody. I was so grateful. I was like, okay.
Thank you for letting me know.
Thank you.
I think I got promoted, and I got something like a £500 pay rise as well. I was like, thank you.
Wow.
And like you look back and you think, oh my, the gratitude. Anyway, not for now, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we should draw to a close as it's
like
going to be bedtime.
Has found a carcass because I can hear her in the background saying, "Oh my God, I'm about to see what." Stay tuned for an update.
Well, we need to connect you with Kate, because Kate, who is one of our friends who's done a podcast, she's currently writing a book that's about the bog men of Northern Ireland. Is that the bog bodies?
The bog. I can't remember what she said.
The bog bodies or something of Northern Ireland.
And so she was like, I need a research trip over there.
She said she needed a research trip. Yeah, she's great at communications. But
yeah, great.
Ellie, I think you've got to ask Maria a question, haven't you, to just turn the flower question round.
Coming towards the end now. Speaking of, what's your questions?
We'll never talk for an hour, and here we are.
I know. Told you you'd do it. Told you you would. If you had a song, great. Let's try that again. If you had a theme song for your life, whether it be in general or just at the moment, what would it be?
I think, and it's also one of my favourite karaoke songs. Love karaoke. It would be "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen.
Oh, great.
Nice one. Good choice.
I do also have a song that will guarantee me on the dance floor, and I played it at my wedding and I had my bridesmaids around me, and it always just gets me. I mean, it has to go full volume, which is actually Titanium as well.
Oh, I love that.
I love that song. Like
I love that song.
The song is just like, so Titanium probably sits well with what's about to happen with Girls Who Dare and just that whole kind of energy. But Don't Stop Me Now, classic. And my son now, he also now sings it as well for his little karaoke bit.
Great taste, your son, from what I've learned so far.
Yeah, I agree.
This has been brilliant, Marie. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Where can people find you?
Always on LinkedIn. Bloody love LinkedIn.
We'll put all of your
all my things,
stuff in
Ipsum.
We just need to make it clear, Marie is not Mary Tyler Moore, for anybody that's Googling you.
I'm Marie Diane Tyler on LinkedIn, yes. Yes.
She'll get a very different proposition. And I do believe Mary Tyler Moore is dead.
Yeah.
Well, it's me now you said that. No, definitely. Make sure, obviously, that they check out Girls Who Dare. Would love any support, and as we've just said today, absolutely open to collaborations with absolutely any woman, any group about women, whatever. Like 100%. And if there is anyone in the security industry, please also look up the We Are Key page as well, which is we and then the letter R key, so we can start our communities.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
IPSA as
Thank
well,
you.
which we're and IPSA because I think that's doing a great role in
IPSA
security.
amazing, and Satya, what a powerhouse. That's another woman.
Oh,
Just quickly say, if I didn't have that woman in my life, that's a very big step to where I am now as well. She is amazing.
She's doing a podcast next week.
I was going to say she's
God.
on in a couple of weeks, and I can't wait.
She's going to be like all the energy, and you'll just be like, she'll have it ready. She'll just she's amazing.
No, can't wait. No, I can't wait. I'm excited. But no, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Very inspired.
Bye,
If I
everyone.
do have questions, it'll be after. We'll connect and we'll do loads of things.
Yeah, and also the refer a friend thing, Elle.
Oh yeah, no, we just need to say bye to.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Bye,
sorry.
people.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, I see. Bye, thousands of listeners. Millions.
Millions.
Yeah, actually, God, I like your.